Hi there, I'm Betsy Weber. I'm the Chief Evangelist at TechSmith, and I have no idea what time it is anymore at this point.
3 a.m.
3 a.m. I'm also joined with...
Matt Pierce. I run our video and social media teams at TechSmith.
And joining us all the way over from Berlin is one of my favorite people, Axel Becker.
Hi there.
Hi. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, well, I started with programming and then went to graphic design, and from there somehow to PowerPoint, and from PowerPoint to Camtasia, actually. Troy Stein introduced it, I think 2006 or something like that, to me. And then the evangelist from you, like you, Betty, came quite often to Germany. So we met, and I'm using Camtasia for years and years. I do a lot of training, actually, in companies. I go to companies, but I do also a lot of production, intro design, and all this stuff. Everything around screencasting.
Right. So you've trained hundreds, thousands of people. And what is, somebody's new to screencasting, what is the tip? What is the gotcha that they need to know before they make a video?
Well, actually, most of the people are coming to me when they already made the decision that they need a screencast. What I tell them is, actually, it's more a quote from Troy, who said something like, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if you extend that to video, it's just so easy to learn. And you have it 24/7 available. And people don't, the video doesn't get mad if you ask the question 100 times and all that stuff. It helps a lot, actually.
It does. And at one point, you even had a Camtasia video screencast, right? Didn't you have,
I do have a website, camtasia-training.de, and there's a blog also. From time to time, I blog, not that often because I'm kind of busy.
I hear you. And what's the number one request that you hear from people at your training?
Since I'm training a lot of companies, actually, what they need is more group functionality. For example, that you can use a library that is somewhere on the server, or you can use production settings that are on a server, so you don't have to exchange them all the time, because it's kind of difficult, if you have, especially if you are in the beginning of a process, you always have to, zip your library and send it to someone, and he has to unzip it. And, if there's one step missing, it's kind of difficult. That's probably the number one request, because everything else is working great, I think.
Right. If you're at a corporation, you want to standardize certain things in your videos.
Right.
Yeah. So you've probably watched a lot of screencasts over time, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think makes a great screencast?
I think you're familiar with Sesame Street.
Yes.
And I think if it's a tutorial video, I prefer videos that use these techniques. So, you start with an intro or whatever, so you can recognize from what company it is or what subject it has. Then you tell the audience what you're going to show. Then in the middle part, you're actually showing this. And at the end, you tell them what you showed them. And these make great videos because, just in the beginning, from one or two sentences, well, that's not the subject I was thinking of it is. So you can just turn it off. And that's very useful and very important these days, because people don't have time. They want to exactly see what they need to see, and nothing around this and all this stuff. So that's probably, these are my favorite screencasts, actually.
Great. And when you go to make training videos yourself, how long does it take you, how long is the end video, and how long does it take you to make that typically?
The video is as short as possible and as long as needed. Mm-hmm. Perfect is 2 or 3 minutes, but,
right.
you can't stick to that. You know, I have some companies, they explain really complex things. No chance to do that with 2 minutes. But I try to avoid duplications of content. So when I'm at companies and do some and help them with problems or projects, I always tell them, you know, split it up into the smallest possible parts you can do. And if the video is just 70 seconds, it's perfect. It's okay.
Right.
Because then you have to spend only 70 seconds to watch one subject. So this is probably very important, I think.
Well, good. Do you have any questions, Matt?
Yeah, I guess we've been talking to people from around the world, Axel, and I guess from a kind of a German culture perspective, how big is using video and images in communication? Is that something that's common, or is it growing, or is it something that isn't necessarily common to see when people are communicating with each other?
Well, besides that, we all eat sauerkraut all day and wearing leather trousers. We also use the internet. It's you know, when Troy first introduced actually the PowerPoint add-in to me, I thought, well, nice to have, but who uses it? Nobody. But over the years, especially the last years, it's growing enormously. Actually, it became from something nice to have to a must-have. Every company, all the large companies I'm teaching are using video, and they usually try it by themselves. But you know, even if the program is not that difficult to use, it's difficult to write a script. It's difficult to have a good design in your video, which is very important. It is very important to have a good voice on your video. Even if it's a visual thing, you need a good voice. You need a good quality of the voice, because otherwise, if the voice is bad, people simply turn it off and don't watch it, and all this stuff. So I think it's not that different from everywhere else in the world. What I've heard in Japan or whatever, maybe videos are a little bit longer because in German, you don't have these very brief language words, something like that. But on the other hand, it's pretty much the same, I would say.
Now, one thing we did hear from Japan that I thought was interesting was Kemi, our contact there. She talked about how the Japanese people in general. I mean, this is obviously not everyone, but there was this need for perfection. That there was no sense of disposable content. You just quick throw something together and share it, but you've got to really make it perfect. In Germany, is there a sense of disposable content, quick communication, visual sharing, or is it much more the formal kind of make a really put together video?
Well, it really depends what you're doing.
Sure.
I have companies that use Camtasia or Snagit for internal video communication. You know, that doesn't matter if the voice is not perfect or if the screencast or the capture is not perfect. They simply want to send something to the support or to a different division, and that doesn't matter. If you go public with your videos, for example, on YouTube or on your own website or whatever, it should be perfect in Germany. I see a lot of videos, especially on YouTube, especially even from Germany, but also from all over the world, that are pretty bad actually, and don't do their job. It's more like a slideshow where someone talks, or it's not a screencast. They're not using the features. You know, you have to. Watching screencasts is pretty difficult actually. You know, you have to watch, you have to listen, you have to understand. On some tutorials, you have to make it by the side with the project and all this stuff, and you have to help the people. And if you don't do that, it's difficult. I would think. So we have a mixture. It's for example, if you're a blogger on the blogging scene and want to show something quick and fast. For example, on my blog, I'm not writing any script. I make some notes, what I want to show, and then I'm showing it, because I simply don't have the time because from my experience, it's more than 50% of your time is preparation, is doing good examples, writing the script, testing and all this stuff. And I simply don't have the time to do that. So I think I can live with some of the roughness, but I would never do this with a company or a customer or a client. It must be perfect, and especially if it's more into the marketing area. If it's more a tutorial, it's like I usually tell people, you don't have to buy a speaker or whatever, a professional. It's okay if someone from the company is doing it. It's even more. I don't know the English word. It's nice, because people know he's from the company. So
Right.
and they see him at a trade show and say, isn't that the voice of the videos and blah blah. This is okay. So it doesn't have to be perfect if someone's breathing too loud or whatever. But if it's more into the marketing area on the website, you definitely have to be as perfect as you can.
Cool. You said something that struck me that, it's hard. You said it's hard. I'm paraphrasing here. It can be difficult to watch a screencast because there's all these elements, right? You have to visually, you have to auditory, you have to really be paying attention. So I guess because we're running out of time for the recording, we want you to stay with us. But after that, as you're making videos, or for anyone out there making videos, and you're keeping that in mind, that sometimes it's hard. You got all these things you got to keep track of. Are there things that you like to suggest, or things that you do to help keep people engaged with watching and listening and paying attention?
Yeah, I wouldn't over animate videos, so I'm using zoom and pan, but just a little bit. The internet is fast enough to have an HD video, 1280 by 720, so you can see actually everything on the screen. But to focus people, you can use a zoom and pan. You can use what is it called in English? Oh my God, Scheinwerfer. The light effect. I have no idea.
Spotlight.
Yeah, spotlight. Sorry. The spotlight effect, to help people, to show them where the action on the screen is right now, where they have to look. This helps a lot, but don't. What is very kind of chic here in Germany are these videos that are more like a comic movie, where you move everything together and all this stuff. That's nice for marketing for 30 seconds, but if you're watching 15 minutes in 3 or 4 or 5 different videos, you simply get crazy. So it's it's like commercials where you see the commercials and think, oh, that was a great commercial. What was it for?
Right.
It's like it doesn't make any sense for me.
Absolutely. Well, we need to wrap up the recording. Axel, stay with us. Thank you so much for joining us on your German morning, our still middle of the night. And we're going to wrap up this video for 48 and 24. We're glad Betsy came back. She's alive.
I survived.
And we'll continue the conversation after this with more in 48 and 24.